Good morning. Good morning. So I'm on my way to church right now, and today is just a little bit of a different video because one, I'm like still trying to figure out what I like and what I'm doing. Two is because I just have this opportunity to film, so I was like, well, I'll just take it. So something that I want to talk about is the covenant that God has made with us, which, okay, please understand, I'm not like trained in the Bible. I don't have a degree. I've never been to school for it. I just know what I'm learning, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so basically something that has been on my mind recently is the covenant that God made with us. So right now I'm reading through the Bible with my youth pastor and her family, kind of, and some other people. So we're reading through the Bible. Right now we are in Leviticus, which is when the Israelites are out of Egypt, but they're not to the promised land, and God's like making all these rules for them on how they can connect with Him, because they are sinful people and they've broken the relationship, the connection they had with Him in the Garden of Eden. Not the Israelites, obviously, but like people. So the book of Leviticus is, I think, basically just this book of rules of how the Israelites are to go about when they sin and what to do to make themselves holy again. Yesterday, Daniel, my brother, and I were sitting down talking and just over coffee, and one of the things that we ended up talking about was God's covenant and how he just learned that in the Old Testament, the covenant, it didn't end unless the initiator of that covenant decided it was going to end. So God made a covenant with us, and people can break the covenant, but they can end it. So as long as God, the initiator of the covenant, decided that it's going to stay, it stayed. So it's kind of cool because we were just talking about that, and like, it's insane to think about Jesus being fully man and fully human, coming and dying for us, and making an everlasting covenant with us that no matter how many times we break, it doesn't end, because God and Jesus decided it's not going to end, and they're not going to back out of it. So we were kind of talking about that, and then today we were reading Leviticus, and I don't even know what chapter it was. Later on in the book, like 20 something. And there's this part where it says, I don't even remember the exact verbiage, but basically, like, even through all of this, even when all of the people decide to do all these horrible things and their enemies triumph over them, and in all of that, I'm still going to remember my covenant with you and the covenant that I made with your father. And so it was so funny to read that, and just, it was like confirmation and just a reminder that in all of our mess ups, in all of our, like, actually deciding to make something else more important than God, or to serve something else, or to choose something else other than God, God still says, it doesn't matter, I'm going to love you anyway. I'm going to keep this covenant anyway. It was just so amazing to read that and be reminded of that, and that because we're the bride of Christ and He came for us and He made an everlasting blood covenant with us by spilling His blood, we don't ever have to live without Him. We don't ever have to be afraid He's going to walk away. People walk away. They do. People are people. They just aren't perfect, and they walk away, or they do things that push us to the decision to walk away because it's better. And so that happens, but that doesn't happen with God. And I want you to be reminded of that today, that no matter what situation you're in, if you're worried people are going to walk away, know that God will never walk away from you. He made an everlasting covenant with you. He went to the extreme to make sure that you knew that He would never walk away, and that his covenant with you is everlasting. No matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times you decide you don't want God, that doesn't mean He decides that He doesn't want you. He always wants you, and He loves you. So it was just good to be reminded of that. And I wanted to remind you of that today. If you're in a place where you're questioning, will God still love me? I promise you He will. He says, it doesn't matter what you do, I'll still love you. I'm still here. There's grace for what you've done. Not so that you can continue to do it, but so that you could be forgiven of it. Because we all need it. I need it. I need that grace. But it doesn't mean continue living in the way you are and just be okay with this separation between us. That's not what grace is. So, I want to just encourage you today, if you're in a place where you think, geez, I don't know how God's going to ever love me. He said, I never stopped. I never stopped. So if you're questioning that today, just know He never stopped. And He will never ever stop. I'm afraid you're going to go flying because you have no mount. Woo!